Okay, I think we're ready to start. So hello to everybody in Melbourne and Brisbane, and also to everyone in Sydney. Someone's actually broken the door here in Sydney. You wouldn't believe it, but the door is absolutely broken. So everything can go wrong, does go wrong sometimes. Daniel's fixing the door, which is broken off the hinge. Okay, we're back. Okay, great. So thanks for coming, everybody. Today's session is a bit different because we're doing it through Google Hangouts. Normally we run these sessions through Polycom or Skype, etc. The reason why we're doing Google Hangouts is because we can record the session. So the idea is we're going to have this online and people can go back and refer to it as they need to. It gave us some ideas that actually maybe some of these trainings going forward we should just record it as a session and not even have a big meeting like this and then people can view it. But we can talk a bit more about that later. We can't record this with Polycom, we can't record it with, well, I think we can with Skype, but we're doing it with Google Hangouts. So bear with us, there might be some issues with the technology. We think this is the best way to go. Another reason for this is because Perth, whenever they join in the Polycom, it breaks the conference feed, as we've seen, and they really want to be part of this as well, so that's why we thought we'd save it online so they can use it later. Yeah, so this is the first time that we've run these sessions, so we really appreciate your feedback at the end of it. And any questions you have at the end of the session, if you can just direct them to both me and Justin. Justin's going to be doing the 101 training, and I'm going to be doing the 201 training after that, but we'll be here for both of them. Yeah, but during the session, can you just keep questions to a minimum for now and just save them to the end? We just want to make sure the technology and everything's working first. And then as we get more confident with it, then maybe we can start being a bit more interactive with the questions and stuff. Cool. All right, I'll pass over to Justin now.
Okay, hey guys, can you hear me okay over there? Okay, cool. This is the start of the GTM 101 training. So, firstly, this is the entire analytics team in Reprise Media. So, comprising of me and Scott Sunderland. Okay, for the 101 agenda, we're going to be going through basic tag management concepts. So, being a 101 session, this will start from the ground up. It will also serve as a good refresher course for anyone who's not really familiar with what tag management is, or the concepts around it, or why we actually do this, or the importance of it. Second of all is the access levels. Thirdly would be why a tag management system. Fourth, we'll cover Reprise and GTM. Fifth, we'll cover GTM mastery, tags 101, and lastly, tag management campaigns, so everything that goes into setting up a campaign, from starting up a campaign, security, the terms and services contracts, and the different obligations that we have. So let's just jump right into it. So firstly, as a concept, tag management. What is it? So simply, tag management is a system designed to manage multiple digital marketing tags within a single interface. So pretty simple. And in that regard, there are many tag management solutions out there. There's stuff like Telium, and well, that's the only sort of other one I know. But the one that we primarily use within Reprise is Google Tag Manager. So primary tag management tool of choice. It integrates natively with all Google products. So, for example, AdWords, DoubleClick, Google Analytics, and more. It's also free to use. So if you actually visit that domain, tagmanager.google.com, you could actually just sign up for an account if you have a Google account and play around with it yourself, if you're so inclined. So, firstly, every website or property would need this tracking code on every single page that would have tags deployed on it. And this is the first step in terms of having the tag management solution on your website. Okay, so as for the account structure, there are different accounts. So I'm just going to highlight like the different sort of levels in terms of the accounts and containers and stuff like that. So This is actually a screenshot within the Tag Manager interface. So you can see from an account level, this is the Reprise's GTM account. This is the name of the container. You could actually have different containers depending on what sort of property you have. So in this example, if you see on the middle column, you see container type is web. You could actually have different stuff like containers for different apps or stuff like that.
Yeah, so in the account structure here, the account is called Reprise Media, but under the account you can have a number of containers. So yeah, we'll see later on some of the accounts we look at that they have a number of containers. And in those containers you can have multiple tags, so you can have containers for different websites or different reasons, etc.
Yep. So lastly is the container ID. So some of you may have seen this number before. So it's GTM hyphen and a unique identifier of the actual ID. And this serves as, the sort of universal identifier for a container. And that's probably what you'll see back and forth going with clients and stuff like that when referencing different containers. So in terms of Reprise, who can access Google Tag Manager? Well, firstly, anyone who would like to have access to Google Tag Manager will have to have these two accreditations. The first one being the GTM Fundamentals exam. So it's a pretty hands-on sort of course, which pretty much shows you the fundamentals of Tag Manager. It shows you through the interface, shows you through the different features, and yeah, pretty much all the basics, up to sort of intermediate level functions that you could do with it. And secondly, GAIQ. So GAIQ is the Google Analytics individual qualification. So GAIQ actually just goes hand in hand with Google Tag Manager, since they integrate pretty much together. So we'll just move forward here. Okay. So why tag management? Like, why bother using a tag management solution? Okay, so firstly, it removes the dependence on web developers, and rapid deployment is made possible. So before, if you would want to have a snippet of code or some sort of tracking ID put on a website, you'll have to go through the developer. You'd have to wait for a certain amount of time for the development team to actually implement it, and then there's a lot of communication back and forth. Also, if there was some sort of error in terms of the tag, like for example the tag that they deployed was not firing correctly, there would be another layer of communication which would again slow things down. So again, it's just tag management allows for the agility in terms of removing the dependence on that sort of stuff, like just cutting down the steps. So it also reduces the code, which is like a sort of good effect of using a tag management solution. So as seen in this example, on the left-hand side, you've got an example of a source code website, the website source code, and it's only three tags. So you could already see that it's pretty convoluted, and it's kind of messing up the code a little bit. And that's only 3 codes. Whereas the right-hand side is the same exact source code with just a GTM container code within the source code. So that one GTM tag can actually house hundreds of tags, and it can also, yeah. So this indirectly affects like page speed, which is very important.
Yeah, so that just, and backing up that point, with the GTM container, that needs to be put on every page of the website. So just like the Google Analytics code snippet, this needs to go on every page. It's really small, like Justin said, but inside that really small bit of code, you can have 100 tags, so that's really powerful. Yeah.
Okay, so in addition to that, it also acts as a repository for the tags. So like here, you've got a clear record of the tags that are on the site and which ones are firing and which ones are not. So, and they're also very easily changed within the interface. They're easily modified. You can remove them without going back and forth to the developer. And you also have access control in terms of who gets to edit the tags and whatnot. Tracking changes and version history. So a very cool feature with tag management solutions, and specifically GTM, is that every time that you publish a container live, so that's putting the tags live on this little website, so having it, working on the live instance of a website, you could actually, there's actually a record for every sort of push live. So you can see on the top there's actually different versions, and it automatically generates those versions every time a container is published. You also have a good version history in terms of who's been changing the codes. So if you backtrack and you're not sure of who's changed a specific tag or who's changed a specific variable, you could actually just look back and see what's done. Whereas if it was all hard-coded on a website, it'd be very difficult to track these sort of things, and it'd be very hard to roll back as well if any errors were to occur.
Sorry, I just have a question for you.
Yeah.
When you say every time you publish the container, do you mean every time you add a new tag in the container you have to republish it? Or do you mean when you first install the container on the site?
That's not, so publish, okay, I see what you mean. You're not actually getting the code and re-putting it back onto the website. The code's always there on the site. What you're doing is you're updating it. It says it's called publish, but more or less it's updating what's inside.
So it's updating the tags that sit within the container.
But you're right, you have to update everything at once. So these versions that you can see on the screen, there's like 480 versions. That might have been just one tag change to the 300 tag changes, but it saves all those as a new version of all the tags.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, we're just going to move on here. Okay, so this section will just cover Reprise and GTM. So some examples of like how we would use GTM to like sort of tag stuff. We can use it to aid in terms of analytics tagging. So in terms of website engagement, we could track stuff like behavior on the website, and that's all easily done within GTM without any input of the developer. So here you can see, we're tracking different goals on the website, and the information is passed into Google Analytics, which is the orange icon, and then from Google Analytics you're able to see different goals. Here's another example. So any sort of e-commerce funnels. So we're able to tag and track different stages of a conversion funnel, e-commerce. You could go as micro as tagging specific fields or tagging different pages. It's really up to you, or like it's really up to the goal of the website. But from here, it's very the information is then again passed to Google Analytics, and you can see the data pass through in the form of conversion funnels.
So what Justin's showing there, that's not native in Google Analytics. Google Analytics doesn't track forms. So that's where GTM comes in handy. If you want to track how your forms are working, obviously that's important in a lot of websites. That's where GTM comes in.
Okay.
What do you mean it doesn't track forms? Can you not, like, are you using Google Analytics code that you put into the container?
Yes.
You could do that without GTM, you just have to be putting that code on the website.
Yeah, it'd be hard-coded, yeah.
Yeah, but the actual elements, how someone interacts with the form, like do they choose Mr. and Mr. type of information. Google Analytics doesn't store that. You actually have to tell GTM to store that within GA, which is very custom.
Okay, but it's still GA code that you're using, it's just sitting within GTM.
Yep.
What's the role of when you use Google Analytics Go versus GTM?
The different things. So
the tag management solution is what we use to track the different things on the thing. It gives us the ability to tag the information so the goal is passed through. Does that make sense?
A goal is generally a destination goal. So if you've landed on a specific page, or an event if you've downloaded a PDF or you've made video or something like that, or engagement if you've been on a page for 30 seconds, then the goal is triggered. So UTM can assist you to create the event for that goal. Like you might set up a tag that fires after 30 seconds, and then the GA goal will be recorded. You know, they sort of assist each other. It's not one or the other. They both assist each other. Yeah, but a lot of goals that you can set up in GA, you don't need GTM. Just to land on, say, a certain page, you don't need GTM for that. That's right, yeah. So for events especially, so did they play the video, or did they click on the address part of the form, or things like that.
So you take, sorry, So you take the GA code, you put it into GTM, and then you set the rules in the GTM interface to say they've selected these things. That's how they connect, right?
Well, no, the goal is that within GA. As I said, GTM is a tool to, I think Sam had a good point, in more detail, to more detailed style select certain elements on the page, which GA doesn't pick up.
Okay, so moving on. Another example used, and probably the most common, would be campaign tracking and tagging, and different third-party tags.
Sorry, when we ask a question, I just had a message through. Can we just speak a little bit louder so people in Melbourne?
Yep, sorry about that. Okay. So
maybe when you get a question, we'll repeat it. So that, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just do a little pre-course refresher quiz. Yeah, just to get everyone's brain working in the morning. So there are 3 main sections within Google Tag Manager. Can anyone tell me what they are?
Okay, you've both not quite there. Can we just, so there's 3 of them, so just throw out one if you can, if somebody knows. What are the 3 main, it's labeled sections here, but what are the 3 main sort of components or ideas in GTM? What are the, who's done the training, the GTM fundamentals? Okay. What is the middle word in GTM? Okay.
So that's okay. To give everyone a clue, yeah. So here, no one in Sydney, despite half the room having the fundamentals exam, couldn't answer it. One of the sections is tags, and
so
we're just.
We know that tags is one of them. The other 2 things. Yes.
Can anyone in Melbourne or Brisbane get it?
Can you hear us there, Scott?
Yes. Loud and clear.
Anyone in Melbourne? Containers, accounts, and tags.
No.
The 2 of them were tags and triggers. There's one more. It begins with V. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so we finally nailed it here. After, I honestly didn't think it'll take 3 minutes, but we.
Do you maybe just want to repeat what the 3 was?
Okay, so the 3 main sections are tags, triggers, and variables. Okay, now that we know what they are, can anyone tell me what a tag is?
A piece of code that tracks something?
Yeah, so Lorraine up here got it. So it's a snippet of code or information which serves a purpose. Okay. For digital marketing, for example, conversion and remarketing or any sort of tracking tag. So can anyone tell me what a trigger is?
That's
Not quite right. What was your yes.
Triggers. Okay, yeah. Triggers a tag would be more. But yeah, that's right. So it's pretty much a specific rule for the tag to get fired. And then the last one is a variable. What does everyone think a variable is?
Is the variable the...
an element you can add to the tag from Melbourne.
Sorry, repeat that?
I think it's like an element that you can add into a tag, like revenue or quantity, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you've pretty much got it. So, okay, so what they said is like, you know, passing values or any sort of thing like that. So it's pretty much like a value or it just serves as a utility to aid both the tags and the triggers. So you could actually have variables within tags, triggers, and vice versa. And yeah. So now that the quiz is done. This is the sort of level of mastery that you know, would kind of be expected, like for someone who's into Google Tag Manager day in, day out. So setting up tags. So I'd say that setting up tags would be at the 101 level, so very easy. So in terms of being confident with setting up tags, is everyone here confident enough to set up a tag with the client specified information within the GTM interface, whether it's a conversion tag or a remarketing tag? So pretty straightforward.
I've got a question. Has everyone here accessed GTM? Okay, so does everyone here have access to Reprise users? Okay, if you've got access to Reprise users, you should have access to GTM users, which is in the BTM login interface. So if you log in there, you can start looking around and do stuff. But don't do it right now. Well, you can do it right now. I don't know. Do it in that
But yeah, this is the sort of question that a 101 level person of tag management ability would be asking themselves every day. And move on. Triggers. So getting a grasp of like triggers, I'd say, is more of a 201 level in terms of the difficulty of setup and the understanding of using the functionality. Okay. So an example problem here, or like a confidence level for setting up a trigger would be, would you be confident enough to create a trigger to fire a tag based on the conditions similar to the one below and test to see if it actually works in GTM? So this problem is whenever an element is clicked on a web property, so for example an image or a link, if the file name ends in PDF, yes, track it or fire the tag, or no, ignore it and don't fire the tag. So that's the sort of 201 level that we're looking at in terms of like getting the mastery of using triggers. And then thirdly is variables. So variables is probably the most difficult part of mastering sort of Google Tag Manager. Typical 301 person, tag management mastery level, would be asking themselves, would you be able to create a lookup table variable that populates its values by isolating specific CSS elements on a page, which then passes information to a third-party conversion pixel? So, yeah.
This is super complicated, but it's essentially a lookup table. So it's saying if, for example, element 1 or CSS value 1 here was then return output element 2 or 3, it becomes useful for other tags that you probably think about how that could be useful.
Yep, so it just shows you Tag Manager. It's very easy, very simple, but very deep as well. Like you could do a lot of different sort of levels of implementations and stuff like that. So we'll just move forward to Tags 101. So this section will just cover tags in its entirety. So this is a screenshot of an actual GTM container that we work with. So again, we already established that tags are a snippet or a piece of code which is configured to serve a specific function on a given website. So on the left here, this is the actual code, tag, and we've actually set up naming conventions to try and describe the function of the tag and what it does. Secondly is the tag type. So you can see here that 3 different tags, 3 different types. So one tag is an AdWords conversion tracking tag. The second tag is a custom HTML tag, in this case a Facebook conversion pixel. And the third tag is a double-click floodlight counter. Yeah, so it just shows you that there are a variety of tags that you could be using all within one interface. And here are the triggers. So under what circumstances should the tag fire? So in this case, if we look at the top one, the book a test drive conversion page static tag would be instructed to fire every time the landing page is brought up, and same with the second rule. The trigger on the bottom, which is click on a test drive submit button. The reason why it's a different color is actually it's because it's a different type of trigger. and there are different types of triggers with different types of colors, which makes it easier to have a glance and see the different firing rules and stuff like that when you're actually in the interface. So on this rule or trigger, it's like whenever a test drive submit button is clicked, then fire the double click floodlight counter tag. So that's the basic tags, triggers in GTM. So we're just going to move forward to the types of tags within Tag Manager. So they could practically serve any sort of function that they're designed for. So this is actually a screenshot of all the native tags which are available within GTM. So native tags means built-in, so there are already templates for it. You can see on the top left there's Google Analytics, which is probably a very common one, AdWords, DoubleClick, etc. So they're all different tags used to interact with those respective sort of properties. You also see here at a glance that there's stuff like AdRoll, which is remarketing. There's also Crazy Egg, which we actually use a lot, and that uses that's for website heat mapping and intelligence gathering for web testing. Okay, so the difference between native GTM tags and non-native GTM tags. So this is an example of a native GTM tag, so Google AdWords. And this is, you pretty much just click on the AdWords tag type, and then you'll be presented with these two options. So you'll be presented with the option to set up either a conversion tracking tag or a remarketing tag, and then it's all native within the GTM interface. And an example of a non-native tag would be a custom HTML tag. So Facebook isn't native within GTM. So to have a tag which contains a Facebook conversion pixel, for example, you would need to paste that code into a custom HTML tag, and that's what the difference between native and non-native is. Where possible, we try to implement native tags as much as possible, just for consistency's sake, and it also makes GTM run a lot nicer. Okay, so a tag management campaign. So what goes into it? So firstly, for a campaign, you'll need to talk to either Reprise or Anomaly to figure out if a tag management relationship with the client already exists, or if...
Just a quick step back, sorry, that's
no worries.
This is for the sales teams in particular. So we've adopted a new process for tag management and how we write the contracts and price it in and deliver it to clients. So this is the new process overview. There's going to be a link to a number of documents as well that we're going to send out at the end of the presentations. So yeah, maybe not relevant for everyone in the room 100%, but definitely worth following, and especially the sales guys, because it's a new concept that requires an anomaly.
Okay, so just adding on to that, the second step would be to agree on the services which are in scope. So, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so this is an example of some of the services that you might offer a client. The first one we've got here is campaigns. So campaigns can be seismic, can shoot, double click. The ads guys would be well aware of this sort of stuff. Yeah, so campaign is probably one of the biggest ones that we do. Third-party tags are non-native tags that Justin was speaking about, e.g. Facebook. So we consider that a separate type of service. There's a bit more work involved in that. Custom tags, another type again. I guess they'd be similar to third-party, but they would be our own sort of play on things. So that would be things like scroll depth and video engagement. We've even got weather tags and different things. It's a bit more development and stuff goes into these type of tags. So that's another service we offer, and then tag debugging. So that's where if there's issues with some tags on the site, we can go in and investigate and see what's going on there. So we offer that as another service.
Question, Raj, just while you're on the sales side of it, where does the line get drawn between whether it is work Anomaly should do or work Reprise should do?
Yeah, so we've had a question from the room, where does the line draw between Anomaly and Reprise? What we are moving towards is that all campaign stuff should be with Anomaly. except for campaigns that Reprise are running directly. So anything size we can, we do Kenshi as well, right? Yeah. So if we're running it, we should generally be managing the tags, and if it's coming from outside of us, then I normally do it. So I normally do the tags for the rest of the building, like Cadrian and those sort of stuff. But if they're internal to Reprise, then we do them. But either way, come and speak to both Anomaly and Reprise before you get started with it. There's actually another slide on this that sort of says the price ranges for these,
Yes.
which will be in the next one. But campaigns, this service is free for any account that has a retainer greater than 10 grand per month. So if it doesn't, then we have to talk about charging for it. If they do, then it comes free. The third-party tags are priced at $285 plus GST per tag. Custom tags will be quoted on investigation, for want of a better word. We'll look at it and see how much work is involved in it. Tag debugging, again, that's $285 a tag. So this is just indicated. In the document at the bottom here, it has more information on these processes and also the prices involved on each of these services.
Okay, just moving forward. Slides. So there's also a newly developed terms of service in terms of tag management. And this document pretty much covers media brands methods in terms of the security processes for tag management. And it also sets out like the service clients for the client. And it can be found in this path, but we could send an email around for this. Anything to add to this?
Yeah, that's cool. So, yeah, that document's really cool. All the yellow bits that you need to change are highlighted. It's really easy to use. You can find it there. Any questions, fire them through at the end.
So, just on security, there are actually a few potential security risks in terms of tag management and using Tag Manager. So, can you think of any security risks based on anything that you've learned so far when it comes to tag management? Anyone at all?
You accidentally delete the tag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's potentially one. Why is tag management in particular such a big security risk?
Yeah, there's one big one. There's one big security risk.
Privacy? Yeah, that's definitely a concern. So I guess what you just raised is part of a broader range of concerns. So it's the fact that with Google Tag Manager you can access the website. So you can go straight into the website and start doing stuff. So whether it's collecting personal information or hacking the website or whatever it is, you've got access to the website. So that's the main reason why it's a security risk, because you can bypass the developers or whatever and start putting malicious code or whatever it is in the website. So one of them might be collecting personal information or whatever. But yeah, it's a big security risk with GTM, and we need to manage that.
Yeah, because in terms of our implementations, we actually use a lot of custom JavaScript, and a lot of people can't read code. So that code can contain any sort of malicious activity if someone doesn't know how to read it correctly. So that's why there's a security sort of process in place when it comes to using custom code to fire different tags. And just moving on to that. So the next steps are the straightforward ones. So client signature, one side. We just have to complete the work from there.
Yeah, the main point is we're indemnified for future losses. Say we put some code on a site that's down for a day. Let's say it's a Target or something, and makes millions a day through their website, and we're to blame for that. That's going to be a big problem. So.
Okay. So that's the end of GTM 101. So we'll just open it up to questions. Should anyone have any questions about anything at all in terms of GTM 101?
I think this would be a good chance for everyone to go. In Brisbane and Melbourne as well, everyone should have access to Reprise Oz users through GTM. If you do, can you please go to the GTM users program in GTM and just jump in and just have a look around at some of the accounts that you have access to. And yeah, if you have any questions from the one-on-one session, as you're looking through that, we've probably got about 10 minutes, about 10 minutes early in this session to go through them, and then we're going to have a bit of a break before the 201, and then the 201 will come back.
Okay, so while I've got everyone here, and hopefully I've got everyone's attention still, I'll just give everyone like a quick tour, I suppose, of the Google Analytics, Tag Manager interface. So this is actually just a staging environment or a testing account that Scott has set up for this training session. And so over here, if you have multiple accounts, which we do at an agency level, on the accounts level, we can see all the different accounts that we actually have access to. So to get access to these accounts, the administrator or the creator of these accounts would have given us access, and then if we have the specific access and everything is good, we should see it within our own interface. Okay, so I'll just drill down to the training container again. So once you click on the actual container, you'll be brought to this screen, so the overview screen. So this just shows you the version that you're currently editing. It also shows you information about who's last edited the container and when the last version was published and which version was published. And you can see here all the unpublished changes that have not been uploaded yet or like published yet. And you have just an overview of the different things. You could also see what I was talking about in the presentation about seeing the history of things. So you could actually see the recent activity here of this container. So if different people have different people logging in, logging out of this account, changing things, you actually have a full log, so you can actually see exactly which tags have been changed, deleted, created, etc., and how long ago. So if we figure out that a tag was not firing, for example, 7 days ago, we could actually just sort the state and see if there are any changes or deletions or anything like that during that period. And then here are the three main sections that we talked about. So here are the tags. So yeah, so this gives you a brief overview of all the tags that have currently been set up, and here is what you click when you want to just create a new one. Here's the example that I was showing in terms of the native tags. So all of these tags over here are all native tags, and they all have templates, pre-made templates within GTM already. So there's no need to use a custom HTML tag or anything like that. So let's just go on Crazy Egg, for example, just to see what it looks like. So Crazy Egg, you would be provided with an account number. So to fire this tag, or to set up this tag, you would just need your account number provided by Crazy Egg. You just populate the number over here. You create the snapshot. So for example, if you want to run a heat mapping test on a product page, you type in product page 1. And here you can actually set up custom variables. So these are the variables that we were talking about. And we can actually dynamically set the snapshot name. So based on the different variables. There are also advanced settings. You could also set up things like tag firing priority and options. And finally, here are the triggers. So here are some of the default triggers that you're presented with. So firstly would be all pages. This is the sort of default trigger that you'd put on, for example, a Google Analytics tag, because you'd want that to fire on all pages. Then there's some triggers that only happen on some pages, some triggers to trigger the tag on clicks and form. So if we just go on some pages, for example, you'd be presented with this, and then you could actually choose the sort of pages when it's going to fire and things like that. So if you want to set up a new trigger, we could say product page 2, and then if we know that the page URL contains product page 2, we could actually set up different rules to select it. And to select it, you could just go product page 2, for example, save the trigger. let's just say product page to crazy egg. And you create the tag. Well, you have to populate this, so let's just populate it with anything for now. Continue. The tag. And after you create the tag, you should be able to see it within the tag section. Pretty straightforward. And
So the tag's been created there, which is awesome, but also if you then go to the trigger section, you should have a trigger for what was just created, and I don't know, I think it's called product page 2, was it?
Yeah.
Let's go down, yeah, in here. So page URL matches regex product page 2. Does everyone know what matches regex means? Does anyone know what regex is? Regular expression. Yes, that's right. So what this is saying, any page URL which has the regular expression / product - page - 2, it will match that. So it could be like a whole series of URLs which have that in. It could be multiple URLs.
yeah, so you have to be very careful when using these sort of rules. So you have to be completely sure that you're going to that your rule only isolates the pages that you want it to fire on. So for different confidence, you could use different ones. So you could actually use equals. So this will only fire if it's exactly the URL that you type in. So if that's the case, you'd have to include www.whateveryourpages.com - product page 2. Contains would be anything that contains product page 2. Starts with, ends with, and etc. You could play around with these different targeting parameters, but they. Okay, so the question was, when would you use the matches regular expression? So anything. So you'll be using the matches regular expression every time you write a query that is in regular expression, because regular expression is kind of like a syntax. So if you type in matches if you select this, it'll understand the different sort of regular expression is another thing in itself. Like you'd have to go back and do some reading on it, but it's quite yeah.
A good example is the Gillette website. So Gillette's broken into moisturizers, cleansers, and within moisturizers there could be 100 different products. So if you want to tag all of the moisturizer products, you do regex page moisturizers. Yeah. So if you wanted to say, I don't know, you had a campaign running on moisturizers as a group, you use regex to target all that stuff.
How does it differ from contains? So if you
Contains.
yeah, so like if you go back to that drop down and click instead of equals, you put contains. How does that differ to a regex?
I use them interchangeably, to be honest. But with regex, we introduce wildcards, so you can have like.
Yeah. Okay. Regex, you could actually start to do really crazy things. Like you can, for example, like you can like based on the syntax, you can pretty much like target any sort of like. It's very like hard to explain, but
Contains what might be like contains Scott, whereas in regex you could do contains SC and then any number of characters and then ends in a T.
Right. Okay. So it's basically a more advanced version of contains.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So here in Sydney, we just established that contains is a less exciting version of regex. Okay. So the last sort of section that we will explore is the variable section, and here, oh by the way, Google Tag Manager actually went through an overhauling like only about 2 months ago, and be careful if you're looking for tutorials in terms of Google Tag Manager, because there's what's known as Google Tag Manager V1 and V2. So V2 only rolled out maybe 2 months ago, I want to say. And they introduced a bunch of new features. They actually renamed triggers from rules, because sometimes you'll hear me saying rules and macros. So variables actually used to be called macros, and triggers used to be called rules. And with this, they actually just streamlined the whole interface. They made a lot of things a lot easier to do within the Google Tag Manager interface without having to use a bunch of JavaScript. And yeah, it's worth reading up on if you're interested. So again, we're here in the variable section. Here
Justin,
are the
you've got a question for Melvin, mate?
Yep.
Yep. I've got maybe 2 or 3 questions here. The first one being around regex and contains.
Yep.
Contains is, I guess, a simplified version of regex, but we're all well aware that regex can do a whole lot more. And you'll probably agree there, but we don't really, I don't think we all understand regex. So it might be worth running another training session on how to use regular expression.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, Chris will do that. Cool. Apparently, Chris can do that, so that's awesome. And then also, how do we quality control what tags are being built out and the rules? Because you guys can probably, and everybody has different ways of writing. You know, like you could do contains this URL path, or you could use a regex. There are multiple ways to get to the same place, but we don't know which one's the best one.
I'll answer that one. The question for everyone in Sydney, we can't hear you very well, so just to repeat. There was a question about the quality control for regex and the rules that people write. How do we check the tags and etc. before they're put up? We'll go into it in a little bit more detail in the 201 session, so if you want to stick around for that, that'd be really good. But just as an intro to that, we have different user permission levels for Tag Manager, and we also have rules where only specialists can publish tags. So there's different access for tags. You can set up a tag, you can view tags, or you can manage and publish tags as well. So we save that for the people with the most experience. We also do quality control where we communicate with our peers to the tags that we've written and seek their advice on how they've been set up. And then finally we have a timing rule where any tags cannot be published after 2 p.m. So that allows us no overnight issues. You know, obviously, while you're at work, you can deal with any issues that might arise quickly. Anything that happens overnight can be a bit of a problem. In terms of sort of the quality control as well, we also debug everything before we post it up. So Google Tag Manager has a debugger, which we'll go through in the 201. But yeah, in answer to the main thrust of the question, sure, there's definitely 100 million different ways you can write some regex or write tags or approach the problem. So one way is not the only right way, and there could be multiple right ways of doing things. So it's just something we need to monitor and have processes around to ensure that they're working. Because sorry about that. The websites can change, and that affects tags that were previously written. So we just got to be constantly monitoring the situation.
Cool.
Thank you.
So, all right, look, guys, we've got 5 minutes to go before 201, so I'll let Dustin wrap up, and we'll have a quick break after he wraps up.
Okay, so I've definitely already pretty much wrapped up. So again, this is the variable section. This just shows you the inbuilt variables that you have to utilize within GTM. And here you can define your user variables, so user-defined variables, which is more of advancing, and you'll be looking more into it in the 201 session. And that pretty much covers the entire sort of interface and wraps up the 101 session, unless anyone else has any other questions that we should.
For this next session, we're going to go a bit more in depth in the I don't have access because I don't have it like this.
Okay, can I ask your hands in the room who doesn't have access to GTM users through GTM?
I tried to add it to certain passwords that I requested it.
So can I just show a hand? I just want to get an idea of the numbers in the room who doesn't have access. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, do you have?
Yeah, no, why not? So, all right. So raise your hand if you do have access to using your music. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, guys, over there, we'll just come back at 10 to start the 201
Sorry,
session.
Justin. Just
Yep.
one quick question out of Melbourne. There was a question about if there was a maximum number of tags that one container could hold.
We have not exhausted that so far. And one of our containers, which is Hyundai, has hundreds of tags, which is like 200, 300 tags. And any instance of tag manager, like a tag manager container, we try to keep the amount of tags at a minimum. So whether it's making efficiencies of rolling multiple tags into one by using different variables, yeah. So pretty much, we haven't tested the limit for that, and I'm not sure of any current limitations in terms of how many tags you can have. I'm not sure there is any, but our philosophy is the less tags that fire on the website, the better. Does that answer your question?
Yep, Melbourne's happy with that. Thank you.
There is no hard limit, I just googled it. There's no hard limit of the number of tags you can deploy on a site using GTM, however. To ensure optimal performance and organization, the best practice is to keep the number of tags as lean as possible.
That's exactly what I said. So
Yeah.
I'm just.
You just Google.
Yeah.
You are Google.
Sorry, what's that? Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah, when you actually.
Well, it'll just be any.
Google solves all of our problems
So like,
all the time.
the idea of a non-native tag is anything that will go into custom HTML. So anything that will go here. So I could even write this tag saying script